Hello, this video is about testing and comparing newer u-blox X20 and older F9P devices and their performance in different kind of situations and environments. There are some excerpts of the visualization derived from the data returned from the devices now shown, but let's first take a look at the measurement setup before going deeper into those. Here's the setup of the Rover receivers. Going through the signal path, here's first this triple band GNSS antenna, from where the signal goes to this first signal splitter, from here to this first F9P receiver here, and this another signal splitter, and from here it goes to another F9P and X20 receivers inside this box. About these two F9Ps here, as F9P supports GLONASS but X20 does not, I kind of found it interesting to compare the performance of F9P with and without GLONASS corrections. I'm not going into politics at this video. I did this just purely for technical reasons. And these receivers are all connected to this USB hub, which is connected to this laptop here, running GNSS stylus application. And this pole here, maybe it cannot be called Servi pole because it doesn't have any leveling bubbles or anything, just aluminum tube. I attach this cell phone here that has camera pointing up, so you can see trees and any distractions here above the antenna. And it also works as a Wi-Fi hotspot that is used to relay the NTRIP corrections to GNSS stylus application and the receivers here. Some explanation about this visualization system used in this video. This is a project made with Godot game engine. It shows these three Rover tracks here in this 3D world here. And the red one is X20's track, and this green one is F9P that uses X20 as a base, so it doesn't have GLONASS corrections here. And this turquoise one is F9P using F9P also as a base, so this does have GLONASS corrections here. All these positions and else, actually everything related to these tracks are based on this UBX Relposnet message which uses this net frame as its coordinates. So it's defined as the local topological system at the reference station. So basically it means that this is using a local tangent plane that has origin on the reference station or base. And it has these northeast and down components here. And also this ITO time, which is milliseconds from the start of the GPS week. That runs from 0 to 600 million or something. Here you can actually see this ITO value here on the bottom bar. And also these accuracies are shown here. So the sizes of these boxes are based on those accuracy values. So they differ on each axis based on these fields. And the frames of these are colored based on this carrier phase range solution status. This black frame means this fixed ambiguities. And this yellow frame here on this F9P using X20 as a base means floating ambiguities. And the pink frame means no carrier phase range solution. I will use the terms no solution and floating and fixed from now on this video. And this 3D crosshair here is showing some directions: north, south, west, east. It also has these scales. Here are these short lines are between 1 centimeter intervals here, or distances from each other. These are 10 centimeters. So maybe this is not the best case to show that, but you can estimate some distances and such using this. But in this case, these rows are quite far away. Actually over a meter here. Here are these 3D values showing the relative distances between the rows. So this F9P X20 means F9P using X20 as a base, so no GLONASS corrections. And this F9P using F9P as a base means that it is using those GLONASS corrections here. But let's take a look at this from another view. In addition to this checkerboard button here, you can also use this ortho photo as a background. The resolution of this is only half a meter per pixel, so it gets quite pixelated when looking closer. But it gives some clue where you are going flying in this world, like this forest section here. This might not be placed very accurately, but quite close anyway. And this ground it really is just a plane inclined to the average inclination of the real terrain here. So no ditches and such are shown here. And this picture orthophoto was downloaded from the National Land Survey of Finland web service, and it has this CC BY 4.0 license, so it's it's possible to use it here. And this barn here, I scanned this barn earlier, so it was quite easy to add to this world. And it also has this metal roof that gives some challenges to GNSS signals or the rovers here. So it's actually quite nice test bench for the measurements here. So let's take a look at those measurements a bit closer. Here you can see these two videos here on the left. These are synced to this virtual presentation. So this is actually a drone video, but the drone is still on the ground, or actually it's on top of a barrel here. And here's the pole and antenna and the cell phone here that is pointing upwards, and this lower video is from that phone. So let's take a closer look here. This was actually quite interesting thing. Drop to no solution for a while here. So let's take a look at it a bit later. Here I tried to follow this plank here. The difference in height is probably caused by incorrect calibration of the scanning rig. So that's likely the cause for this height difference here. Yeah, I tried to measure some points under this feature here. These are also a bit lower than they should be based on that scan. And about this drop to no solution here, interestingly, it happened almost at the same spot as the earlier drop here. So not sure what's going on here. Maybe those rovers lose connection to their favorite satellite because of this roof or something. But anyway, quite interesting that this happens almost at the same spot. Let's continue our journey into the barn here. So when getting under the roof, the locations or positions of these rovers start to diverge quite a lot. And also the solution drops to float and also no solution from time to time here. If changing this inside view to this untextured one, you can see better the shapes here. The insides of this barn was scanned from this entrance only. So this is quite blobby, but anyway the antenna as you can see here, should be about this intersection of these beams here. So the antenna should be around here, inside this barn. And this is actually quite interesting. But the F9B with GLONASS corrections suddenly reports quite accurate values here. It's definitely cannot be right, because this is like 1 meter away from the position it's supposed to be at. Anyway, let's continue with this. Speed it up to normal speed. We were at half speed for a while there. So now starting to move again here. And again, occasional drops to no solution. But quite soon, as we get outside of this barn, these tracks start to converge again. First these X20 and F9B without GLONASS actually. This is also this F9B with GLONASS is here. Maybe, or you can actually see it here. It's over 20 centimeters away from these two. If we continue with this, it soon converges with these two. So probably it was this F9B with GLONASS that reported erroneous position here. But as said, this converge quite soon here. So now the accuracy boxes are also overlapping. Now going to the corner of the barn here. Let's switch to this textured barn. Here I started flying with the drone and walked here close to the eave of the roof here. So basically almost half of the sky is covered by the roof here. There's slight divergence between these tracks here. And I'm switching to follow me mode of this drone. Actually, you can see the drone also here. Raising it to about 40 meters to prevent crashes to trees and such. And here, when going farther away from the barn, these tracks quite soon converge, so that the accuracy boxes that are in this case 2 by 2 centimeters 1 centimeter per direction. They are actually overlapping here already. But now I missed these trees here, so let's rewind a bit. So here I tried how these rather lone trees affect the accuracy. Let's slow down this to half a speed. So there's slight divergence here. Some boxes, accuracy boxes, are not overlapping. But not too much divergence. Now there's not much interesting to see for a while, so let's speed this up again. Maybe some divergence near these trees, but anyway, let's pause this for a while. So soon getting on these trees here. These tracks start to diverge a bit. Soon getting to a thicker or denser forest here. These start to diverge a bit more. It's hard to say which of these rowers are closest to the real position, because it cannot be known easily here, so cannot judge which one of these is closest to the real position here. Now there are some drops to float here, also for X20. Like here, the F9P with GLONASS is actually reporting RTK fix here still. I'm a bit behind this, so let's pause this. So there are some diversions of these tracks like this. Actually, let's switch to this full screen mode for a while. Like this is probably erroneous. Longer route here. Probably here X20 is taking this erroneous longer route. I try to prevent any sudden accelerations and such. So such things showing only in some of these tracks are probably erroneous also. So now we are quite thick part of this forest. Actually already leaving it. Maybe. Oh, here we. In some sense, this F9P without GLONASS with these larger accuracy boxes is kind of more honest honest to this, because well, these tracks rarely overlap, or this accuracies rarely overlap here. Which they basically should do if those accuracies are to be trusted pedantically. So this is probably quite close to the first part of this track shown first on this video. Likely here, actually, seeing these boxes. And here again this F9P with GLONASS corrections took this quite sharp decline here. So probably it was erroneous. Here parking. Actually, let's take this a bit back. And here parking for a while against this tree here. And this again took a higher route here. But here the X20 with this sudden change in position. Now this F9P without GLONASS corrections took this leap. And here both F9Ps took this quite sharp correction here. And again taking a bit of time against that tree here. Soon leaving this forest back to the field again. Let's speed this up a bit. For a while until we get out of this forest. Oh, there's interesting changes here. Actually goes below this ground plane. X20 also takes this quite sharp turn in another direction. Now leaving this forest and these tracks start to converge quite soon. Looks like takes like maybe 15 or so meters to get these accuracy boxes overlapping again. So there's not much to see here on the open field. So let's speed this up a bit again. Until we reach this lone pine tree here. It is quite branchy, if that's a word. So testing how it works here. Let's make these tails a bit shorter. So actually quite close to each other. So lone tree is not that much of a problem. And here going around these trees on the side of the road here, between them. There's slight divergence between the tracks here. And here the drone started to yell about its battery, so I had to land it. But there's not much to see here. Just walked along this road back to the starting point, so close to that. And picked the drone probably here. Yeah. So let's switch to another test. Here's another case. I took some measurements with those devices. This is about 1.6 to 1.7 kilometers away from the base. And again, this background or orthophoto was provided by the National Land Survey of Finland. In this case, I also scanned the road and car here. The scanner was using F9Ps actually with the incorrect configuration. That didn't use GLONASS. It may have affected a bit to the scan. Like this road is definitely not this much inclined in real life. But on the other hand, I tried to scan this car also with the same scanner, kind of for reference. And well, it looks like a car, so it worked quite nicely on this area. This is not as covered by trees as this part of the road is. So that may contribute a bit to this accuracy. Actually, this antenna is currently leaning against this car and this roof rack of it. But in this, it is here, and that's because I scanned this car when it was a bit different place. There's no any parking grid or anything here. I didn't mark the position of the car, so it was a bit different position. But don't let that bother. Let's walk around here. So in this Tree Canyon section, these tracks are quite close to each other. This section of the forest isn't very dense, but I pretty much chose this place because it has forests of different densities quite close to each other, so it is easy to test how much that affects to these tracks. So let's speed this up a bit. This part of the forest is a bit denser, but maybe can be seen on these tracks already as they diverge more. And here, getting back to this Tree Canyon section again, these tracks also converge again here. Quite slowly, but anyway. Speed this up again. Yeah, raised the ball a bit. I think it's lower part of it hit the grass or something, so it was better to raise it a bit. Here getting a bit denser part of this forest. In this case, these sudden changes can actually be real because of the density of this forest. I had to find a way through the branches and such, so there might actually be quite sharp moves here. Again, it's difficult to say which row more closely follows the real position because it's not known. Here I stopped between these trees for a while. Not sure what trees they are, maybe these. And these rowers are reporting positions quite far from each other. Over 2 meters, worst case here. Looks like the F9B without GLONASS corrections kind of disagrees a bit with these X20 and F9B with GLONASS corrections here. Now the F9B with GLONASS corrections took a leap. This is interesting. So this F9B with GLONASS corrections took a leap towards this X20, but then X20 decided we are actually lower here, a bit different place also in this direction. Then they soon converge here. And here is actually quite interesting thing that this F9B without GLONASS corrections is kind of stuck here, like 2 meters away from the other rovers. It takes very long time to converge with these other rovers. But it does that just in time before stopping against this pine tree here. So let's continue to another measurements now. As in the previous parts of this video, the rover antenna was moving, so its real position could not be known for sure. Here I placed it on the ground instead, next to this barn here, and tried to modify the environment around it instead. And this crosshair here is placed on the long-term average position reported by these receivers here. And in this case, these three values are distances from the long-term average position. And here's the rig, but let's continue with this playback here so we can see it here in the real life. So it has this 87 by 65 centimeter steel plate here, causing distractions and reflections and shadowing whatever to the GNSS signals. So we can see here how it affects the positions returned from the receivers. So in this case, it looks like those receivers try to escape under the ground. These horrendous plates above here. So it's almost 40 centimeters on the ground, worst case here. Probably this plate is reflecting some satellite signals here, and of course shadowing the ones coming straight above. Try to make very slow movements here so it can be seen how the positions drift back to the center here, which they do quite nicely actually. This kind of overshoots a bit this F9P using GLONASS corrections. Then it corrects itself to the center. So I tried this shadowing from different directions. Let's speed this up a bit. So this is northeast direction, approximately, more like east actually. The barn is here on the other side, so there's quite a lot of shadowing here. Now those positions seem to drift more towards west and then down. But this plate is also a very shallow angle here now. Let's speed this up a bit more. So now they are quite close to the long-term average position again. This should be kind of worst direction because the barn is here on the other side and this metal plate is now approaching from the opposite direction. So the shadowing on the GNSS signals should be quite severe. can be actually seen here. This drops to float and no solution here. Occasionally. Kind of funny that in this case they drift this way. So not sure what kind of reflections are going on here. Do the signals reflect between ground and this plate or something? Now they're kind of lost for a while, even though there's not so much distraction left here. This F9B without GLONASS is shooting here straight up. Like 30 centimeters away from the average. Also some disagreement between the rowers here. So this is again like 30 centimeters away. Let's speed this up again. Takes quite a long time before they settle back here in the center. But there they are now. Let's switch to next test. Basically the same test, but in the forest. Here I had some funny looking issues with the cable going to this top antenna here. It had some intermittent contact issues causing the position flying all over the place. And also this rig is now flying quite literally all over the place. But eventually it started working with some twiddling of the connector and such. So let's continue with that. So basically this is pretty much the same test as the one before, but in this case this antenna was surrounded by this forest and was like 1.7 kilometers away from the base. And in addition to that forest, this car is here actually quite close to the real position. But it had trunk or hatch opened also, so it caused a bit more distractions to the signals than shown here. So quite same kind of effect here. Maybe I was a bit too close to the antenna here. So there's basically this hole allowing the signals go through it. One kind of test that also. Let's speed this up. So this is in this environment probably the worst direction as the car also caused some shadowing to the signals. Now the X20 here dropped to the RTK floating solution for quite long time actually. It is kind of surprising because this F9B without GLONASS or reports RTK fix. But of course the positions are like almost 30 centimeters off from the real position. This direction it's not that much. So they are again on the ground here. So it took quite a while for X20 to return to RTK fix. In this test I just left this system running and logging for 24 hours here in the forest. This is very close to the same spot as the previous test was made, but not exactly because this was again done on another day. This hatch was of course closed and the door also. During the measurements this happened. So quite interesting unplanned test about snowfall. This was about 3 or so centimeters new snow that fell during the night. If we look at the measurements, the snowfall happened here in the middle section of these measurements, so it cannot be seen at all here. These are measurements from north, east and down axis of X20 row here relative to the average position of all rowers during this 24 hours logging period. So here's X20 and this is F9B without GLONASS and F9B with GLONASS. So this is maybe slightly less noisy than this without GLONASS measurement, especially this down axis here. So without and with GLONASS here. And comparing this F9B to X20, basically these look quite the same. And the same can be seen here on the histograms here. So these solid lines here are X20s. X20s measurements. These dotted lines are from F9P without GLONASS, and the dashed lines are F9P with GLONASS. So these dashed and solid lines, so X20 and F9P with GLONASS are very close to each other here. But these F9P without GLONASS are somewhat lower here, so wider distribution of these values here. And looking at the scales here, so here's this 1 centimeter line and this on the other side. So quite a lot of the measurements are above this 1 centimeter line. If we look at the accuracies reported by, in this case, X20, this basically reports this 1 centimeter accuracy on north and east axis, and maximum of just below 2 centimeters on down axis. So if we look at this histogram again, it's somewhat optimistic again. These other rows actually report a bit less accuracy, so this is F9P without GLONASS here. Close to 5 centimeters for D-axis accuracy. Worst case here, so it's maximum value here. And here are F9P with GLONASS, so basically 1 centimeter again for both N and or north and east axis, 2 centimeters for down axis. And here was actually one sample here that was RTK no solution, but it had the coordinates very close to the coordinates on both sides of that, so it didn't affect coordinates basically at all. But anyway, these 1 centimeter accuracies sound a bit optimistic here. This last test is basically the best case scenario for the rowers. In this case, the rowers here and base receivers are all connected to the same antenna using these three splitters here. So they got the same signal from here. The antenna used was actually the base antenna I usually use, that has a very good view on the sky. So it's not this particular antenna, but identical to this one. And in this case also the correction RTCM messages are relayed here on the GNSS stylus application level, so there's less delay on those correction messages. And when we look at the data here, position data from X20s. It looks quite like a white noise. So does this F9P. This is using X20 as a base, so no GLONASS, and this is F9P using F9P as a base, so GLONASS used here. So these F9Ps, this and these look quite similar. X20, maybe it is a bit lower, can be seen also here. But in these histograms, it's kind of looks clearly better here. But if you take a look at this scale, all of these are very close to the center here, because this scale is from -1 to 1 centimeter. So there's already 1 millimeter line here and here. So almost all the samples here are between -5 and 5 +5 millimeters. So they're very, very close to the zero value here. One interesting thing on these measurements were these kind of dropped position updates from both F9Ps. Actually, the number of these was less than 1 in a 1000, so not very much of these dropped frames, but anyway, not sure why this happened. Maybe the F9Ps decide that zero coordinates are not possible for rovers or something, so not very much to worry. And definitely they do not change these charts or anything in any visible way. About latencies of these devices, I currently have no means to measure the real latency, but from this log you can see the difference between latencies. So this rover A is X20 and rover B is F9P. Here uptimes measured from the locking device, which in this case in an ancient Windows 7 laptop, which in this use works just fine. And here are the differences. The average is here 147 about, which is actually a bit too much, because F9P supports 7 Hz update rate with all constellations enabled, like here, which is actually 142 milliseconds. So this latency difference just cannot be this big. And these devices in the laptop, in that Windows 7 laptop, were actually using different drivers, so that also may contribute to this. And here you can see actually this frame time, which means time between the first and last bytes of the message. And here in the F9P, it's kind of always 1 or even 2. And for X20 it's almost always 0. So there's a slight difference here. But anyway, this latency difference and latency may matter in some uses like automatic steering or such. And as the X20 supports 25 Hz rate, it should be much lower in any case. So as this video is already quite long, it's maybe better to wrap things up and draw some conclusions here. So all of these devices have their own share of glitches, like here and especially this F9P without GLONASS. Maybe one conclusion could be that F9P works better with GLONASS in challenging conditions, like here in this tree canyon. And about that GLONASS thing, one reason I chose this approach to use F9Ps with and without GLONASS was that these measurements were taken quite far north in central Finland, about 62 degrees north latitude. And the GLONASS satellites have more inclined orbits, and therefore they are kind of higher in the sky here. So there's less obstructions for the signals. So that's maybe one reason why the F9P with GLONASS works better in these conditions. And maybe one conclusion could be that these accuracies reported by these devices are kind of optimistic, as these accuracies do not always overlap in these difficult conditions. But I think that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and read the description for more information. Bye.